Anderson Silva might be retired and fighting for fun, but his son means business. Silva recently fought and won his first professional bout against Paulo dos Santos. He looked incredible inside the ring, and with the Spider in his corner, we think he's going to be real trouble in the world of boxing. Also, did you know Anderson spars with both of his sons at the same time? Stay tuned for more. First up, a brutal body shot. Anderson Silva and his sons are nothing less than a family of modern-day warriors. The Spider is easily one of the greatest mixed martial artists from Brazil, and if we're talking about his legacy at the UFC, he's without a doubt one of the best middleweights of all time. And while his younger son Khalil might just have debuted in the world of boxing, older brother Gabriel is already a two-time kickboxing champion and almost had his third earlier this year. Khalil has also tried his luck at kickboxing and has 2 victories up his sleeve, but after seeing his boxing debut, we're convinced he's more of a striker. It was a good, entertaining fight, but we're guessing having one of the greatest fighters of all time in your corner goes a long way. The 22-year-old is cornered by Anderson and coach Luis Carlos Dorea, and having so much star power probably played a huge role in getting him the W. It was a 4-round fight as he went up against the talented Paulo dos Santos in the 155-pound category. Khalil landed an absolutely brutal left to Paulo's body, getting him the win via stoppage. We reckon it was a really proud moment for the Spider as his youngest got his first of many victories. Plus, as we said earlier, it's pretty obvious Silva plans on having a family of warriors with a lot of belts and titles to their name. Both Khalil and Gabriel are just getting started, and who knows, guys, we might just see them at the UFC one day. Next, following his father's footsteps. The journey to stardom will be really tough for Khalil, but even if he manages to get half the success, he's going to be a treat to watch in the coming years. The 22-year-old has made his plans clear, as he plans on following his father's footsteps and becoming a big name in the world of combat sports. If you ask us, we think he's still trying to figure out what he wants to do. He had some success in kickboxing as he won 2 fights coming at 1 loss, but one of the bouts was incredible. He managed to get a knockout in just 8 seconds after landing a terrifying one-shot knockout hauntingly similar to Anderson's. And after getting his first victory in boxing, we're guessing he probably wants to experiment with that a bit before he decides to dedicate himself to a sport. Kickboxing would be the ideal choice since it opens up a lot of doors to MMA. It might even land him a spot at the UFC, but like we said before, it's going to be a long and tough journey. But with his father on his side, he'll probably be getting expert advice and some first-hand insights on the tricks and trades of the industry. His style is pretty similar to his father's though. The movements, the stance, it's like watching a younger version of Silva. And we know we've already mentioned this, but just imagine how deadly he can become with Anderson in his corner. Moving on, an unmatchable legacy. Before we talk about how Anderson practically dominates both of his kids in intense sparring sessions, we want to talk a bit about his legacy. Since we've mentioned how Khalil wants to follow in his father's footsteps, is it better if he just stuck to making his own? Because let's be realistic here, people. Watching a guy like the Spider dominate some of the best in the world is super rare. Fighters like Anderson are probably born once a decade, and considering the gap he's left behind at the UFC, it seems like the 22-year-old will have to spend a lot of time if he wants to follow in his father's footsteps. Believe it or not, Silva actually went on to win 16 fights in a row along with 10 title defenses. And in case you're more of a boxing fan, let's just put that in perspective for you. Every time a highly skilled fighter climbed the ranks and challenged Anderson for gold, he put them away. He did that 10 consecutive times, and that's why he holds the record for the longest win streak and title defenses. His reign as a middleweight champion was just mind-blowing. He made some of the toughest fights look like a piece of cake, and while we think Khalil definitely shows glimpses of his father's fighting style, matching him is nothing less than impossible. It's better he created his own path and crafted a legacy of his own. As for the elder one, Gabriel, he's already on the right path with 2 kickboxing championships. Now for a name in boxing as well. He's definitely one of the biggest names in MMA, but did you know he's made quite an entry into the world of boxing as well? He did lose his most recent fight against celebrity boxer Jake Paul, but that's nothing compared to what he's achieved. Anderson destroyed a former boxing world champion, and if that doesn't shock you, then we don't know what will. Just let that sink in for a second. He spent his entire life training MMA, and granted he knew how to use his hands very well, but boxing after 15 years only to knock out Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Silva also fought fellow MMA legend Tito Ortiz, which probably ended up being the biggest mismatch ever since the Brazilian smashed him to bits. Anyway, what we're trying to say here all comes back to Khalil. His dad certainly didn't do him a favor by dominating both sports, but we think both he and Anderson know that, and that's why they're going to do something different. 15 years of fighting experience are being poured into your brain by a legend of the game. Khalil definitely has a head start on the competition, but it takes a lot more than that to make a name for himself. But we seem to be missing something here. The biggest advantage he has here is probably the mistakes he's made as a fighter. Khalil will know exactly what and what not to do, and we think that's going to take him a long way in the world of combat sports. Following up, 47 years strong. Since we've already told you about Khalil's and Gabriel's credentials, we think you're going to find this bet much more interesting. Despite being 47 years of age, Anderson Silva spars with both of his sons at the same time. Yep, you heard that right. He spars with both of them at the same time. And you know the scary bit? He has no trouble whatsoever in dominating both of them. Of course, people will argue how his sons are taking it easy on him, but if you've seen the video, then you probably know that's not the case. He's literally catching Gabriel's leg kicks like they're nothing at all, while dodging whatever Khalil throws at him. And we know we've mentioned it a couple of times already, but Gabriel is a two-time kickboxing champion. Or in simple words, the guy could knock someone's head off with one of his kicks. And while it is a sparring match, the way Anderson is controlling those kicks is jaw-dropping. It just goes to show you how experience plays such a huge role in a fighter's career. This might be a bit off the topic, but remember Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. Now, the social media sensation did end up getting a knockout, but the fact that Silva was able to give him a run for his money at 47 years of age is incredible. And since we're on the topic of Jake Paul, wouldn't it be cool if one of Silva's sons avenged the loss? Up next, solo sparring. Khalil has a lot of videos on his Instagram sparring with his father, and we're not gonna lie, Silva does not go easy. We saw a video of how Anderson dodged a well-directed punch and counter by landing a solid blow right on his son's face. But if we look at it from a different perspective, it's immensely beneficial. And it isn't like he's special or something either, since modern boxers have some of the all-time greats sparring with them. What Silva brings to the table is different though. He isn't just throwing punches or putting him through drills. He's trying to trip him with sneaky kicks, making him defend his body, and just giving him the whole experience. And have you noticed how most MMA fighters switching to boxing struggle with their defense? Well, that won't be the case with Khalil. By the time he has a couple of bouts under his belt, Anderson would have probably made him a true warrior of the game. He'll know all the ins and outs, all the tricks, and all the techniques to make sure he knows how to handle every single situation inside the ring. And we'll be real with you guys, we're not going to be seeing all that anytime soon. Don't be mistaken, but about 5 years down the line, we think Khalil is going to be on the main stage dancing with the big boys. Last but not least, what's next for the Silva family? We're not too sure about any of them at this point. Khalil and Gabriel are both young, and they're probably starving for greatness right now. Like we said before, it'll be time until they take the big stage, but you can expect to see them battle it out in their respective sports in 2023. And Anderson? Well, he's still fit and healthy, but age isn't on his side. He'll probably fight another high-profile celebrity or part-time boxer to rake in dollars and quench his thirst for exhibition boxing. That's it from our side, folks. So what do you think? Will Khalil Silva be able to craft his own legacy in the world of combat sports, or will he always be in the shadow of his father? Let us know in the comments below. Remember, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.